Good morning and a happy day after Halloween. I hope everybody had a great night last night doing whatever activities you were doing, which might have included going trick-or-treating. We're here watching the assembly uh, on the television or on your computer instead of outside because it's too wet for us to be on the blacktop, and I thought this might be another way for us to have an assembly together. So good morning. Um, before we talk about the November Project Cornerstone book, I wanted to recognize some activities of the Leadership Club this morning. The first has to do with the fact that the Leadership Club began meeting, and some of you in classrooms in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade know who is in that club because you, at least the ones who are in it, you signed up and you turned in an application, and you probably joined a service group. And I wanted to tell the school what those service groups were. We have a group of planting volunteers, and they did some work last month in planting, and I think there's more that is going to happen in the future. There's also a multimedia team that is getting started and has already done some work on the school website and is planning to do more work. And they're going to be getting together and meeting and talking about some future projects. We also have a group that's signed up to be Peaceful Playground Helpers, and they're getting organized right now. In fact, they're going to be meeting next Tuesday at lunch with me to talk about a program called Fun Zone. And the Fun Zone is something that you'll hear more about as the Peaceful Playground Leadership Club kids design some special activities for kids at recess. And finally, we have the recycling composting team, and that is going to begin soon with some work that you're going to be doing also at lunchtime with our recycling and composting program. So I wanted to let you know that some of the service projects around the school have already started and some are still being created. So if you have an idea for a service project, you are very welcome to share that idea with someone in the Leadership Club so that they can get your idea to the right people to help make it happen. So thanks for thinking about that and talking to the Leadership Club kids. So let's talk about the theme book for this month, the month of November, which is Say Something, written by Peggy Moss. And I'm wondering how many of you have heard of this book before. And maybe as you're sitting there, you might want to raise a quiet hand so that the rest of your class can see who you are and they can ask you about it later. And I'm not going to read the book to you right now. You're going to hear it in your classroom read to you by one of the parents from the school. And that will be a fun experience because it's a really great book. But what I want to do right now is introduce one of the ideas from the book, Say Something. So just from the title, what would you think Say Something was about? So right where you are in your classroom, raise a quiet hand if you think that there is a character in that book that needs to speak up. And you just saw my cat walking around behind me. I'm actually recording this in my office in my home. Raise a quiet hand if you think that there is a character in the book, Say Something, that maybe needs to speak up. Think about that for a minute. Put your hands down, and now raise a quiet hand if you think that maybe that person needs to speak up about a problem that they're having with another student. Raise a quiet hand if you think that might be going on. So put your hand down again. So what I'd like you to do right now is think about the kind of a problem that someone might have that they need to speak up about? What kind of problem could that be? Think about what kinds of problems kids have at school, maybe at recess, maybe before school, maybe after school, maybe not even at school, maybe a problem with something else. So think about that for a minute quietly while you sit there. And now I'd like you to, right where you are, turn to a partner and share what you were thinking of. What kind of a problem might be something that someone would need to share with an adult or talk to another student about. Why don't you take just a minute to share it real quickly. Thank you for doing that. I'll give you a moment to wrap up. Why don't you finish the last thought that you had? Thank you. Okay. So, moving on, I'd like you to sit quietly and think, do you know what an upstander is? If you take a minute, think about that for just 1 minute. Maybe raise your hand quietly if you think you know what that is, but don't share it out loud yet to your group. All right, if you think that an upstander is a person that stands up for another person in a social situation, you're right. So, what does it mean to stand up for somebody? Maybe you have seen a situation where someone was hurt by somebody else. Maybe they were physically hurt, or maybe they were made to feel bad. And maybe you've seen people actually come to their defense by trying to talk it out and get people to talk together. That'd be a great example of standing up for somebody. And that's what we mean by an upstander. So I said I wasn't going to read the book Say Something, but a real strong hint about what the book is about is that it involves being an upstander. An upstander who will speak up to support someone who's being teased or picked on, and will talk to the other student or tell an adult if someone needs help. It takes a really brave person to be an upstander, doesn't it? So sometime this month, you're going to get to hear the story, the picture book, Say Something, read to you in class. And when you do find out that the story is about being an upstander, you'll notice that the book doesn't use the word upstander. It just conveys the idea. It just tells the idea of being an upstander. So notice that when you get to hear the story. All right, then. Thank you for listening this morning. And I know that we still have the Blue Friday raffle to do, and we'll announce that at a later time. I'll send out the results of the Blue Friday raffle this morning in an email, or go around and pass out the winning tickets to the kids when I see them. Thank you for listening and participating in this first ever online assembly, and have a great day. Thank you.